All right. Test one, test two. Test one, two.
I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, how you doing?
All right.
Okay, good. Let's go ahead and start. Let's see the chat window. Okay, good. Welcome everyone. Let's start with reciting the prayer for spiritual workers, and then we'll go right into today's session. All right, prayer for spiritual workers. Almighty God, I bless all those who, because of their limitations, would smite me. Almighty God, I bless all those who, because of their weakness, would not heed me. Almighty God, I bless all those who, because of their ignorance, would defile you through me. And I ask, Almighty God, O wondrous power, that your strength may be given to me now, so that I might be fortified by this, so that I might go forward bravely into the world, and despite reception, send forth my love of thee throughout all races of man. Almighty God, give me the power and strength to rise above my karmic weakness, the deficiencies in the pattern of my evolution, so that I might evolve and become stronger, I and even stronger in thy everlasting light. O God, thy will be done. All right, welcome everyone. And welcome back to the open discussion and various topic sessions. All right, last couple of weeks, I was finishing up the semester with a couple of classes I had. Now that finals and everything are done, we'll hopefully come back to a more regular schedule. We'll be continuing with our open discussion and various topic series, and probably continue that for the remainder of this year. And then we may open up 2026 in January with another open discussion series, with, along with some announcements of our planned agenda for the rest of the year. But that'll come in due time. For now, the floor is open. And welcome, Marcus. Thank you for joining us. I'm glad you're here. So if you have any questions or comments, you can feel free to post them in the chat, and we'll be glad to address those for you. And along with today's discussion, if I'm reminded of any notes or diagrams, illustrations that we have in today's conversation, then I'll try to quickly find them and post them up, and so that we may continue the conversation in whatever subject matter you guys would like to discuss. All right, so let's go ahead and take a few questions. See if I could find something as well to start us off. Oh, additional announcement I forgot to mention. We still have an ongoing, the South Florida group of the Atheist Society that we meet every Thursday for our weekly 12 blessing services. That's our prayer service that we hold both in person and via Zoom. We do- we also hold commemoration services. If you'd like more information about our Florida group, which is open to everyone, not only those residing in Florida, you're welcome to check us out on MeetUp. You can search for the South Florida Society group and you'll find the group. You can request to join, then you'll receive notifications on whenever we have meetings and services. All right, there's no questions yet. Then I'll start off with a question I had. Let me take off the screen share. So, in a popular philosophy that many on Earth subscribe to, and is taught to us, is the is that survival of the fittest, the strong take from the weak. But in many lectures, Dr. George King has taught, and you've actually said it before too, Nehemiah, that that philosophy is black magic, and that the correct philosophy, karmically, is the weak take from the strong. And I was wondering if you could go into that a bit more and kind of explain what that means for us as we seek to develop ourselves and evolve ourselves spiritually, and how that affects those around us and how we should approach that type of philosophy with the weak taking from the strong.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, you hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just having problems over here with my thing, with my internet. I think nature explains that more than anything, because any living thing here on Earth, or any so-called non-living thing on Earth, has an exchange of energy. And the larger deposits you have, the more is required of you. You understand?
Yes, I understand.
Yeah. So you is it's almost a phallus to to say that the strong takes from the weak to carry on those actions. Remember, what a lot of people don't understand when some of the great masters talk about karma being the law, you that there's a law of karma, they don't really understand that. And and the main thing about that is that karma in the ancient Upanishads and Vedas and 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 all over the world, almost any Bible, it talks about right action. And that right action is also described as divine action. And and when we speak like that, we're talking about a divine action, which is a right karmic action, is that all actions will sum up to create progress in the right direction. And the right direction is back to the divine source. So so when you get something right, it always elevate that.
We just, yeah, we just lost you for a second, Amar. 1 second, guys. Let me try and get him back.
'Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Where did I leave off at?
You say some mystics don't understand the law of karma.
Okay. Yeah, so the the law of karma is about actions and it's about right actions.
Mhm.
And the right action is an action that always resort in a forward progress. And a combination of right actions bring the right result that moves you closer to the divine source. And that divine source uh, is the goal of every living, so-called non-living thing in the world and universe. So when you make the right karmic uh, uh, action, meaning that all your actions added to a forward movement, then you have a shift of consciousness. And that shift of consciousness moves all the manifested matter on every realm of existence with it because mind molds matter. So one of the we're told that one of the best ways to actually uh, progress in a balanced fashion is through service. You know, and when you can be of service to the things around you, especially when you have the power and the energy to be of service to those things that's weaker than you, that doesn't have the knowledge that you have, then what that does, that helps you balance your karma. And it always, in most cases, sum up to being the right actions because we are here to help each other. We everything plays off of each other in a sense. And we just got to find the right balance. Now we don't want to go help someone to do wrong, but we want to help someone to move forward. So now, in reverse of that, you have people that do practice uh, taking from the weak or the poor, whatever, and the combination of those actions bear the wrong fruit because they have them, it stagnate most people that do that. It stagnate them in a certain position and a certain level of development that they have to stay there a long time without moving forward, without having any real forward progress. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does. And just in case, I'm gonna send you the phone number and code you can use to call in. So
Okay.
if you get disconnected again, we'll try and doing it that way. I'm gonna test it first, but I'm gonna send it to you. Uh, where is here?
Is my voice coming through better now?
Yeah, it's coming in clearer now. It drops every few minutes or something, but it's still clearly hear what you're saying.
Yeah, my hot port is not working for some reason.
The network card is not working
The
in the where you plug the network cable into your computer.
Yeah,
Okay, I might have a few extras I can try and bring over and test it out. Where is your? Give me 1 second, guys. A little bit. Let me get this wrapped up. Okay. I sent it to you on WhatsApp.
okay.
Okay, so before you dropped off the first time, you had said, and then you explained it again, that all actions uh, lead to the right direction. And then when you say all actions, that's meaning both good, negative, or positive and negative actions. And like you've mentioned in the past that how all a series of negative actions causes negative actions multiplied negative actions causes a positive result. And we mentioned that in the past.
Mm.
But I wanted to ask, so as we're developing ourselves, this is something I've felt um, in the past, particularly during a spiritual push or a very uh, troubling time. It feels like as I develop myself and have access to more energy, more and more help, or I'm saying the way, as I get stronger, even incrementally stronger, it feels like more and more is being pulled from me or demanded from me by those maybe in a weaker position. And it to the point sometimes it feels like the sources I can pull from get less and less, but those pulling from me become more and more, and and it gets exhausting, debilitating, frustrating, depressing sometimes. Like sometimes it'll feel like there's more and more people pulling from me than are giving to me, and it at times makes me feel like I want to quit or stop or kind of isolate myself and separate myself from everybody and just kind of go quietly into my own practices until I feel strong enough to handle the burdens of all those increasing burdens of all those around me, both near and far. And I know that's not the right attitude or perspective to have, but still those thoughts come up often, particularly in like spiritual push times. Um, I know when I was growing up in the church, we were one thing we were taught is to seek refuge in the Lord, or as I've gotten older, seek refuge in the teachings. And I know that helps. That has helped me. It continues to help me a lot whenever I'm feeling like depressed or down or just in a very difficult spot. I know I can always go back to the teachings and take refuge in the teachings and hear from the voice of the masters or whatever, or even from your classes or even from you, that there's comfort and solace and help within the teachings. But that's not always easy, or should I say? Sometimes it feels like the teachings or God is silent as I am having to deal with these increasing troubles around me as more and more pull from me.
Well, we have to deal with realities, and realities is that uh, the physical plane and below the physical plane are very negative environments,
Hmm.
you know, but yet you can make a good forward progress, especially on the physical plane. So, so we have to be aware of that. And
Uh, he's gone again. Uh, let's let's try the phone option. Let me test that out.
Welcome to Zoom. Enter your meeting ID followed by pound.
Give me a moment, guys. I'm going to test this out. See if we can get him back on.
Test, test. Okay. Can you guys hear me pretty well? Okay, so
All right, give me a second, guys.
okay,
I'm gonna try and get Mr. Davis back via phone. Okay. All right, I do see your questions, guys. I'm going to wait for Mr. Davis to reconnect before I pose them. But the first question here, is there a way I can be more a part of the community even though I'm not in Florida? Yes, that's was actually something I was going to announce in January. Several classes ago, um, I was reviewing a book by Yogi Rama Charaka. I think it was the Raja Yoga book. Um, but anyway, in that book, it lists um, practices that we can do to help develop ourselves. And I had made the offer, I had opened up the option of creating a practice group in which we would come together and we work through several of the texts and several of the teachings, and we would, as a group, as a collection of students, practice together, help each other, mentor each other, and probably maybe like a few people. And I committed myself to everyone that had joined the group and was serious in practicing as well. I committed myself to helping everyone um, develop and grow until you all felt like you're ready to, move on to a more advanced practice, what have you. I made that announcement um, kind of casually, but I didn't put together anything formally. So I'm going to be doing that next year. And when that comes available, uh, Marcus, if you have our email, Mystic Knowledge Center, all one word, at gmail.com. Send me an email if you're interested, and I will add you to a list. And then when I'm ready to launch that, I'll send an email blast out to everyone with how I'm going to create the group, how we can all connect to each other. It may be Zoom meetings, maybe a web portal. I haven't decided that yet, but as we get closer to it, I'll let you know. So if anyone is interested, Marcus and anybody else, send me an email, send us an email uh, explaining that, and I will add you to that email list.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. I had to move positions.
Okay.
All right. So where was I?
Um, we have to understand that this physical realm is a difficult realm or a hard realm for us to be on. And we have to face reality when we're
Yeah, so the question was it seemed like the more you try to do good, the more resistance you have, right? In a sense.
not, I wouldn't say resistance. It seems like as I too much is given, much is demanded. I understand that, but
Hmm.
it feels like the demands get greater and greater as not in balance to how much stronger I get. If I accept that yes, the weak take from the strong, there always seems to be more weak pulling on myself than there are my ability to access the energy or the strength to get stronger to meet those demands, and it always
Hmm.
seems unbalanced.
Yeah, I mean, you have to look at it in the sense that the largest population of this earth is in the lower hills.
Hmm.
Uh, the smaller population is in the higher rims, and the middle passageway is the physical realm, the
Hmm.
gross physical realm, what we call all the realms of physical, but the gross physical realm. And so it's the same way here on this and on this realm of existence that the higher you go and the higher we're speaking in consciousness, because consciousness is the thing that demands your responsibility for you to be responsible for the power and knowledge that you're given. So you must take on a greater task the more advanced you become in any direction. In any direction. If you become advanced on the physical science, then you have to take on more. If you don't, then you're building up negative karma. You know, uh, same thing in any field of endeavor. You have to take on a greater responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just a law of karma, because we are our brother's keeper, in other words. So much given is much demanded, and that's the law. That's part of the law. So you will feel that, and you have to respond to it, you know. So the scientists that can uh, give clean and purified water to the world, then they must take on that challenge to do that,
Mm-hmm.
regardless whether people don't want them to be able to do that. The scientists that can give electricity throughout the world, they must go and try to do that. Because if not, they'll find themselves uh, being reincarnated over and over and over to try to complete that task.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just the law. That's how the law works, you know. And it's insane that people think that you only come here one time, because energy never dies,
Mm-hmm.
you know. It only modifies. So what about the spirit and the soul and the mind that's molding that energy? Does it die?
Mm-hmm.
That's ridiculous. It only shifts from one realm to the next. It modifies itself until it can get back to the position that it needs to be in order to make a forward progressive movement, under difficult circumstances. So that's just the law.
Okay. I have a question here. How to forgive someone who betrayed us? Or should we seek revenge?
Um, I wouldn't I wouldn't try to seek revenge. That's not the mystic way. Uh, it's good to forgive, but not to forget. So you should forgive, but every experience is an abundance of knowledge and understanding, and a navigator of how you should move forward. So that's why you shouldn't forget, because for you to experience that, then you position yourself to experience that. So you should take advantage of the teachable moment and move forward, with what you learn. If to revenge is to is to is to move backwards, and it may have you repeat that experience over and over until you get it, until you can transform that, to raise the consciousness of everybody that was involved, so that they would never repeat the things that they did. In other words, you're on mute to win.
Sorry. So to a mystic, what does forgiveness mean? Because we know there is no forgiveness of sins, as some
Well,
religions
I
would
just
teach.
I I just kind of explained that to you.
Hmm.
I said you can forgive, but don't forget. And I say, what does that mean? That means what? That means make that action, that experience you went through, where you have to forgive the person for where they are, but don't forget what they did, because that's a teachable moment for you. And now you have to absorb that experience and raise it to a different level of consciousness, to a different, so that that cannot happen again. So I mean, is
So could that mean separating yourself from that person or
it may mean a
changing the
lot of
way you
things.
interact with them or
Yeah, you have to navigate. Remember, I said that it's a point. It becomes a navigating point of how you move forward. That's what I mean by that.
hmm
Because now, do you allow them in certain spaces of yours? Maybe not. You understand?
hmm
So when I was in college, I shared a space, and I was paying for the space. I shared the space with a couple roommates. I had one roommate that will that respected my space, and I created an altar where I would go and meditate and pray at. It was a smaller room, but that was my space.
hmm
And the other roommate just totally disrespected my space, throw their dirty drawers, their socks or whatever on my altar. So I got furious,
hmm
especially being a teenager, or in a teenager or get ready to turn 20. I mean, I wanted to kick behind.
hmm
But I had to center myself, and I had to make that a teachable moment. So I told him that one more mistake like that, you cannot live with us,
hmm
because I respected his space, and I expected him to respect my space. So, but I mean, we stayed friends, but I eventually had to move him out. I had to kick him out of my, you know,
hmm hmm
my apartment, because we couldn't live like that. So it's make it a teachable moment. You may have to change your actions. You may have to disassociate, detach. Whatever it may be, a series of things, but you don't have to take revenge.
hmm
Make it a teachable moment for you, him, and everyone around.
Okay.
But to retaliate in a sense of revenge, it only have you to continue to go through that experience over and over and over, if you don't analyze it and learn from it. Stop thinking that you only live this one life. You live
hmm
multiple lives. As Paramahansa Yogananda said, if you did everything right in this life, it would probably take 1,000,000 years coming in and out of the physical uh, body, going to the astral or the etheric realms. For 1,000,000 years, it would take doing everything right to ascend. So it's a very difficult thing to do.
hmm
So let's get started by not having to repeat things.
All right, another comment here. I know of a guru that claims you only have tendencies when you die and no guidance. That seems imbalanced.
I don't know what they mean by tendencies.
Yeah. But no, that's not true. You have plenty of guidance.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know what they mean
Yeah, I
by
don't know the
tendencies.
tendencies. James, if you can expand on the word. I know you put tendencies in quotation marks, but I'm not sure what you mean by tendencies.
A lot of people like bringing words into the new age, these new age buzzwords, when it needs more clarification on what they're talking about. because your intent behind the thing behind the action is your intent. And we know that as mystics, right?
Mm-hmm.
With every action has an intention. In other words, it had a mental configuration of of uh, of what you uh, intend on accomplishing by that physical thought, that physical voice, and that physical action, and it's playing off the 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 intended configuration that you formed in the mental world. So that's what gives those thoughts and actions power. So, but like I said earlier, when you go to the physical realm, I mean, when you go to the astral realm, it's a physical realm as well, because you bound by the astrophysical laws of nature on that realm. If you go to one of the higher etheric realms, it's a physical realm because you bound by the etheric physical natural laws of those realms. And the process is thought, and the thought forms uh, 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 a pattern which might be expressed through voice or through mental picturization, which is telepathy, and then it moves into action. So it's working the same way on all the realms in a particular way. It's just on the more subtle realms, you can project your thought without the larynx, without the physical voice,
Mm-hmm.
or you could use both, so it's still the laws working in a particular way. We project our thoughts, but majority of the times we're not aware of those thoughts, but the thoughts are projected and it's followed by a physical voice. So tendencies, I don't know what they actually mean uh, when they just, because tendencies it's a wide range of things when you look at it mystically, because it is the intent behind thought and actions, and it's the intent, it's the intention, but also behind potential thoughts and actions as well. I hope
Right.
that answers your question.
Yeah, I think he has I'm not sure if that's a follow-up to his to that initial question or if it's something else or a comment on something you were saying. Supposedly based on the idea that intellect is of the physical brain. I'm not sure what he's referring to there. Okay, but there's another question here. It says, sometimes I have very strict thought control and high concentration, but some days I cannot predetermine a simple task. Also, what may be the causes? Can you tell me if I'm doing all the things to purify myself? Okay, so I think there's a couple of questions here. It says sometimes I have very strict thought control and high concentration, and sometimes I cannot even predetermine a single task. What may be the cause of that?
It could be many causes, but in most cases, I would think that it's the karmic pattern that you built for yourself over the multiple past lives that you have lived. In the sense that uh, if you pick up something, if you start doing something that you enjoy doing, and that is it's part of your nature, you are able to concentrate and use all 5, 10 senses in coordination without any interruption. Because why? That task that you are doing is something that that have been with you for probably eons. You have adapted your whole makeup to that particular task, and you're good at it. So so you have no problem with that, and then you go and start doing a task that you're not so good at, and you have to build your focus and your intention and your concentration and contemplation, your eye coordination, that's because you are in a learning mode, and that you have not, your whole body or bodies have not in sync with that subject, that those tasks or whatever. You have some type of aversion to it because why? Is not a part of you yet. And that happens with everyone,
Hmm.
you know, on good days and bad days. And another thing, if you start doing something that you don't like doing, and then you go back to doing something that you like doing, you might not be able to concentrate on things you like to do, because you have an unfinished task with the other things that you couldn't do.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that's where your emotions and psychological play at. So, but that's why we talk about concentration, contemplation, and meditation, where you have a scientific approach, a metaphysical scientific approach to actually taking on tasks. you know and by doing that, you can learn, you could teach the body, the soul can train the mind to take on any task that's before you, whether you like it or don't like it. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, so going back to the I know of a guru that claims you only have tendencies when you die and no guidance. He says, follow up to that. Supposedly, it's based on the idea that intellect is of the physical brain. No, both of those are wrong.
No, that's not true. That's I mean, you can the ancient teachings. Let me show you how modern the ancient teachings are. In the ancient teachings, they describe, and in multiple, and this is the case in multiple. I'm not going to go and give you all the terminology for all the different so-called religions or whatever, or philosophies, but this is the basics, and I'm sure everybody heard this before. God spoke the word, and the word was with God, and creation came about. Right? I'm sure
Hmm.
everybody heard that in some fashion or form or whatever. Well, some of the ancient teachings go into deep on that. And when you go back to the Vedas and some of the Upanishads, they go and speak it as though God, the absolute, Shiva, uh, the great Brahma, uh, spoke the word. They describe the word as Vak, and this word broke the silence, because God is total stillness, total silence with all potential. And that sound came out, and creation came about. The universe came about. and that sound released this Shakti, which created the universe. And the Shakti uh, uh, came out with the supreme sound connected to it, which we call nata, which Vak turned into nata. The initial sound turned into a repeated sound, and it's described as nata. And there was four major principles of Shakti that modified itself into building the universe, building the galaxies, the solar systems, the planets, the moons, the suns. So they described the first Shakti as a Vijnani, which Vijnani is a universal wisdom and and intelligence. It's a divine intelligence matrix, and that was the first Shakti principle. The next Shakti principle was a universal mind belt that permeated the whole manifestation and all the galaxy and all the trillions of galaxies out there. There's one mind belt, and then it had the next Shakti, the third Shakti principle was Amana. Amana is a calibration of the intelligence and the mind that brings about a blissful operation that moves energy from one level to the next or one point to the next without without any interruption in order to achieve creation on any level of existence. And they describe that as love energy, the grace of God. Okay. And then the fourth principle is the fourth Shakti principle is prana. And prana is all power, all power. So when you look at it, there's a there's a there's a divine, go back to number one, there's a divine intelligent matrix that everything is built on. What is that? That's a karmic signature throughout the universe, a framework in which everything operates in. So the initial step of if you start at one and the last level is 1 million or 2 million or 2 or 3 billion, you'll end back up at where one started at. In other words, you'll come back to the source, but you'll come back to the source with supreme understanding of the manifested creation of God. So that's what that intelligent matrix is there for. The second one is mind. Everyone shares the same mind. Now we know now, living in the base ignorance that we live in, that you can create a network. You can create a Wi-Fi system. We're using it right now. Everyone is sharing this internet. So we know that this was written thousands upon thousands of years ago. So you can see that that this is a part of nature. The next thing is insulating the movement of the intelligent matrix and the mind energy so that it makes it from one point to the next. And that's the third Shakti principle, which we, in simple terms, we call it a love energy or energy of preservation, right? The galaxy is described as a center of as a lord of preservation, because it creates this 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 vortex of energy that allows multiple levels of gross matter, subtle matter, mental matter to exist in a constant motion until it's necessary to move to the next level. And then you have the fourth, which is all power, all the power that you will ever need. And each play off another one. Uh, Prana cannot move without mind and the amana or love energy. It cannot move. It needs mind to shape the energy, and it needs the love energy to move it from point A to point B or point A to point Z, because it's a preservative energy. And then all of them need the intelligence, the divine intelligence, of the first principle of Shakti. And this was written down, as far as we know, over 90,000 years ago. And it was taken from something that was hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of years old. So every realm of existence have this divine intelligence, is made up by divine intelligence, because that's the signature, uh, that's the karmic signature, the framework in which we live in. And all of us share the universal mind by creating a local mind belt around the bodies or vehicles that we live in, whether it's an astral body, a physical body, or an etheric body, or even an ascendant body. So I would tell that person to go back and study the ancient teachings and look at these things, because it's clear. That's why we need to study the mystic constitution of man.
Mm.
That's the ABCs of all the teachings. I hope that wasn't too complicated, but it shouldn't be.
Okay, let's see. The next question. Anything with re in front of it means going backwards. Oh, not necessarily, Justin. Right, they'll also be
What
balanced. Okay, what
what
do
was
you
it?
so what do you think? Well, his comment was anything with re. This is we were going back to when we were talking about revenge. So anything with re in front of it means going backwards. I guess that also includes religion. So,
No, I mean, religion has its place. Religion is only a device or vehicle to allow people to learn and to share a certain belief system. But as you see, most people move from one religion to the next. They graduate in their position, and because the more they learn, the more they can navigate themselves. The thing about it, in almost any religion, you can find your center. You just have to ignore uh, all the noise, because in everything there's noise. In other words, when I call noise, it's the inconsistencies, because you should be able to have things that make sense.
hmm
You know,
Yeah, so the thing you told us a lot was when we started studying teachings, especially the teachings from the East, is to remove the culture from
remove the culture, yeah,
yeah.
because they have people do some stupid things. and they really do some. I had one student. I think I told you this. I had one student that uh, they didn't believe in taking teachings from a black person, which kind of is ridiculous. And but they would go to the other student and ask them to give details on what I said after every class. And the student would come back and tell me that this was happening and say, I don't understand this person. They won't come to class because you're black. And I told them, I said, well, that's up to you whether you want to do that or not. You don't have to participate in that. But I said, maybe one day they will get over that. And that the particular student refused to come to. He never came to not one class.
Mm-hmm.
He probably began to listen to us online,
Mm-hmm.
but eventually he went to I think eventually he joined the Aether Society, a religion that I belong to since birth, and he got deep into it, but he never would acknowledge me and never would come to my classes.
Mm-hmm.
And yet he called himself a mystic, and that's a cultural thing. That's the thing. Now he's going to have to pay for that for lifetimes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It may take him several lifetimes to get over that, because that shouldn't the race of a person shouldn't stop you from standing by truth, knowledge, and spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
And culture shouldn't stop you from doing that too. And it's just an ignorance. An ignorance is a spell. It's a spell that's been cast on mankind, because talking about those in power, they depend on ignorance to rule over you, and
Mm-hmm.
to make you their slaves and subjects to do their bidding. That's why for thousands of years, for hundreds of thousands of years, the people in power, they took the knowledge and hid it from the masses. Because if you had the right knowledge, you will walk the right road. Most people are good people. They just want to move forward.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, but that's what they do, which is really, really stupid. When you think that, when you look at the race, even going back to the secret doctrines of Madame Blavatsky and one of her students, Alice Bailey, they clearly describe the first race of our civilization here on Earth in the last 18 million years. Uh, they described majority of the people were black people, were black
Mm-hmm.
and brown and red people, and eventually came the so-called yellow people. But all of us was human beings. It really didn't matter, but they described it as that. And now scientists have, for the last, 30, 40, 50 years, scientists have came to that conclusion by studying DNA. So for you to say that you don't want to accept nothing from the part of the human race that's considered black or brown is ridiculous, because that's where all of us came from.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's just a body type. But that's what happened when you get involved in culture and all this race and even some religions, you get caught up in that. And I would say don't do that, because there's no real religion that speak ill of another race that I know of, if it's a true religion. Because all of us, all the bodies on earth, all the different body makes on earth, it's necessary in order to move forward. We have to go through a certain experience in order to get out of the mess that we're in.
Hmm.
Because we write our own karma, in other words.
Justin, you had posted a question before, and I was going to post it. It was on projection, but I see that you retracted the message. Did you not want that question posted again, or did you still want me to post that question? And there's another one he has here. It says, I heard thoughts are entities. Mm, yes. Yes, thoughts are entities. Thoughts are things. Living. I think he wants
Thoughts,
his,
thoughts are
yeah.
thoughts are an extension of you and other people. So that's the type of entity, if that's what you mean. But it's always best to think of it as that particular thought manifests itself from a life screen. So just like a chair came from an original thought, and first it was on the mental plane and it was manifested on the physical plane. So the question is it an entity after you brought it to the physical plane or the astral plane or the etheric plane? It's an extension of, and it's been modified multiple times by many, many other people. Now, in the mystic understanding that when any person move to the higher planes of existence, like maybe here on this plane, we'll say the ascendant realms of existence, they have to pull back any negative thoughts they've left out there and accentuate all the good things that they did, that they left there as well. But listen, where it can be used for more good than bad, I guess. So think about that. So a lot of times that's when you think about it, that's why certain things are no longer used anymore and other things, or it's transformed into something totally different. So
Okay. Justin, could you repost that question? I think I don't remember it entirely, which I should, but I think you had asked about projection. What does Mr. Davis think about projection? And I assume you mean astral projection or thought projection. I'm not sure which type of projection you're referring to. I think it's something you did. If Mr. Davis, did you project your friend or former roommate throwing their drawers on your altar? I'm not sure what he meant by that. To me, was that a projection of Mr. Davis? Did he think he projected the guy throwing things on his altar?
no, that happened to me in college. I would set up a physical altar. Just a smaller place in my room to to pray or meditate. And I mostly did it when no one was there, but everyone know that that was a sacred space for me. It had, it had the standard things there, uh, candles, uh, uh, religious figures of great masters or whatever, or pictures of them. So it had the standard stuff there.
Yeah.
There was another roommate that had his Christian stuff there. And, they didn't touch that.
They recognize that, but not yours, huh?
Yeah. So,
Yeah, Justin, that projected question could go multiple ways because um, going back to the idea of thoughts being actual things, being actual entities, or projections of you, or parts of you. I think I told the story before when I was at FIU in one of the rooms that we used, one of the classrooms that we used to use, and I was doing I think I was performing the 12 blessings in the room, and I saw the image of somebody walk into the room and interrupt me. And then a few minutes later, a person walked into the room, interrupted me, but they were coming into the room because it was a Muslim student, and it was time for them to do their daily prayers, and I guess that was one of the rooms that that person used too. So I saw the his thought or his attention come into the room before he actually did. I'm not sure that's what you're referring to. I don't think that's what you're referring to. And then there's astral projection, which I don't think that's what you're referring to. Oh, some gurus try to blame everything on you. So they like to say the subconscious mind projected. Mm,
no, that's true, and then it's not true too. So, um,
yeah.
because of course, we create our own pathway by our own actions, but we also attract people to us with similar patterns to experience uh, that our daily lives as well. So, so it's a combination. It's a group consciousness that build the experiences that we are experiencing. So, back in the day, um, it probably worked hundreds, maybe thousands of years ago, where the yogis used to shut themselves off from the world. They would go and live in in a in a in a in caves or wherever to get away from population so that they can accelerate their personal development. But this, this didn't it caused a ripple effect from what we understand. Uh, because before they can ascend, they had to go through interactions with multiple people in order to ascend because they lack certain experiences. So the thing today is to be among people and develop yourself, among people, because we operate as group consciousness whether we realize it or we don't, you know. So I hope you understand what I'm saying.
There's a comment
So in the sense
here.
that,
Oh, sorry.
wait, let me and
Yeah, go
to
ahead. Go ahead.
qualify, in the sense that I always say, and you know this, Dwayne, that the aura is a devic laboratory.
Yes.
Yeah. So the aura is constantly creating the necessary experiences that you need in order to make that forward progress, in order to burn up negative karma and begin to make positive karma. So that's why it's a magnetic aura that attract all the things, all the lessons to you that you need to go through. Go ahead, Dwayne.
Mhm. I'll say that there's a comment here um, from some time back. It said Hinduism fills in the blanks of the Bible for me. I think it's back when we were talking about the teachings in religion.
Yeah, I agree to that. You know, some of the Hindu teachings it does do that. And it makes sense. I mean, like if you go back and read Revelations and John speak of going to these different places, we understand that when we once you study Hinduism or Buddhism, you understand that John John visited the city of Shambhala in a projected state.
Hmm.
You know, so it makes more sense when you begin to look at it like that.
Okay. Another question here. What kind of knowledge um or was hidden by powerful people? Any examples? Uh, oh, so David,
Everything. I mean,
everything.
that's history. What about I mean, if you go back to Alexander the Great, Philip the Great, what did they do? They went around, collected, their predecessors and themselves went around, collected knowledge from all over the world and created the great libraries and then destroyed them in time of war, battle, or whatever. But they collected the knowledge as they conquered different areas or moved into those different areas, spied, stole stolen artifacts, stolen uh, books of knowledge, and brought them to that part of the world. When when they thought they was going to fall, they destroyed them because they didn't want the knowledge. The universities of today, what do? They collect information. Do they release that information to the public? No, they don't. We had more information released in the last 10 to 15 years because of the internet than ever. But before, it was very hard to get a hold to the knowledge that we have today.
Hmm.
And they still keeping a lot of knowledge from us because if they hold the knowledge base, then they can control the population. It's not just government, is corporations, it's the people who have positioned themselves in power to control the larger population. That's just natural. That's just it's natural in this base physical world. There's more of negative than good.
One example, Bipin, we talked about earlier, is of knowledge that was hidden is reincarnation, karma and reincarnation. Specifically in the Bible, teachings and references to reincarnation were removed by the early church. Um, and like Lima said, for control, you cannot control a population of people through fear and the threat of eternal damnation if they know that reincarnation is true and real. So there's lots of examples throughout history of knowledge that's been removed.
Yeah, and reincarnation was part of the Catholic Church for several hundred years.
Hmm.
It was a part of the Christian, and it's still in the Bible. It's still in the Bible, and I think it's in the Torah too. But the powers of bees felt like they didn't want that because it gave people a sense of power.
Hmm. Okay, let's see what else. A lot of things I also. A comment here. I hope adult cartoons aren't entities in a literal sense. Yes, they are, James. There's actually, I remember growing up in the church, they used to teach us to, which has good and bad reasons, to separate yourself from the secular world and do not indulge in secular things. And they didn't really give us the reason behind it or the mysticism behind it. It's because and thoughts are things. Like, for example, one of the reasons why I stopped watching horror films is because I began to realize the effect it had on my mind and on my aura, and I would attach myself to that consciousness, to that entity. Um, and so we're taught to guard the things that we ingest, both in food and thought, things we watch, things we read, um, because those become some scars on the aura and can actually scar the aura and damage the aura if we're not powerful enough to burn those up and throw those off. Uh, Am I still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Let's see. There's a question here about the four types of karma.
What are they talking about?
I'm not sure. Justin, what are
Are they
you referring
talking?
to by the?
They talking about what I just talked about, the
I
Shakti
think so, yeah.
principles. Yeah, because there's many types of karma.
Yeah.
But the four Shaktis, I call them the comic signatures, the four creative comic signatures. That's in my book. You can go for read it for greater understanding of it.
Yeah, both. He means the mantra book and the prayer book.
And the prayer book, yeah.
Yeah.
And now with karma, the book I'm writing now, I dedicated a whole chapter to it. Probably a couple chapters because I keep referring to it.
Um, okay, Pippin. Let me see here. When will I get applied to your email? Pippins, send me a reminder because I have to go back through the email to find which ones you're referring to, which emails you're referring to, Pippin. So yeah, Pippin, if you could email me a reminder, I'll go back and look through the emails and see which one you're referring to. Okay, let's see. You explained already. They were saying Jesus was Moses and Elijah. Why? Because they knew about reincarnation. No, Jesus was not Moses or Elijah. The Master Jesus came from Venus. When they say he was born of a virgin means he was not of Earth's karma, humanity's karma. He um he uh, the Master Jesus came to Earth to perform a mission um through Mary and Joseph, but was not of humanity's karma.
I think the that person they probably getting what's that Matthew 17?
I think
Was
so.
it Matthew 17 the transconfiguration, right?
I think
When
Elijah said that he
Moses
had came again. Yeah, yeah.
when Moses and Elijah appeared on the mount on the that was what Jesus was telling Peter at the time was that Elijah came back as John the Baptist. And Elijah did what the scriptures say he was to do, and that was to let everyone know that Jesus was coming.
Hmm.
That's what that meant. If you read that whole chapter there, you'll see that's what it clearly states that. Was he talking to Peter or John? I can't remember.
I'll have to go back and look. I think he was talking to him.
No, to Peter.
Yeah.
Because they asked him, why does the scripture say Elijah must come first? And he responded, Elijah did come first, and he
Hmm.
did what the people said he would do. So and that was to foretell his coming. So this is a clear example in the holy in the first, I think that's the first book of New Testament where they give the genealogy of Jesus, and then later on, and they speak about Elijah being, John the Baptist being Elijah. And there are several other places inside the Bible that talks about reincarnation as well.
Okay, so question here, what is the importance of a fixed time in a concentrative practice?
Is is the energy flow, and is to create a pattern, an anticipated pattern with the physical body, astral body, and etheric body. And it's the energy flow. The energy every 32 minutes, the sun release a modified release. Let's say like this: every 32 minutes, the sun release one of the major pranas, and that prana will run for about 3 hours. So you have an overlapping. All the pranas are present, but one prana becomes dom the dominated prana. So if you pick a certain time and you do that every day, by the fifth or the seventh day, you would have uh, tuck in all five major pranas in a dominated factor over other. Because what happened, let's say the Vijnana prana will dominate for a particular time, and all the other pranas will fall under the direction of that. But then the next day you may have the Samana prana fall under, and then the next day you may have the the you may have the heart prana take control. Then the next day you'll have the Udana, the throat prana take control. Then the next day you'll be back at the base of the spine. So by sitting in the same time, same space, that's what you're doing. Because with your concentration practices, you need to practice pranayama and mantra. So that you can take advantage of those pranas. And that's one of the major factors of doing it at the same time every day. The only thing you have to do is just do a little bit of mathematics and figure out 32 minutes and the release of the pranas, and then the prana going on for 3 hours at a time or whatever, all 3 hours. If you could set for 3 hours, you take in all five major pranas. But since you're only setting for 20 minutes or an hour, you're taking in one major prana per day. But if you could set for 3 hours, or I forget exactly what it is, it's either 3 hours and 20 minutes, or it's 32 minutes for times five. If you could set 32 minutes times five every day, you could take in all five major pranas in a very active state. If you only set 30 minutes, then you're only taking in one. But if you sit 1 hour, then you're taking in one. But if you can sit for the whole 32 times five or times six, then you're taking in all major pranas. I hope that answers your question.
Okay. Are there any more questions?
And also, I want to add to that, you're not only synchronizing yourself with the flow of energy of the sun, the major prana is coming from the sun, but you're also synchronizing yourself with the modification of the energies being modified by the moon and the earth as well. The earth moves on a 28, 30-day cycle. And and the the earth and the moon moves on a 28, 30-day cycle. So but the sun moves on a 32-minute, and like I said, 32-minute times five or times six cycle for the life forms on Earth.
Okay, let's see. Another question here. Oh, I lost the chat window. Here it is. Can you explain the Brahma Muhurta and how that correlates with the pranas? And the Brahma Muhurta is it's like a sacred time period in Hinduism that occurs about an hour and 36 minutes before sunrise, and it's typically between like 3:30 a.m., 5:30 a.m., and it's considered the ideal time for meditation, yoga, and spiritual practices.
Yes, we're taught to get up at and start meditations at 3 a.m. in the morning. 3 a.m., 3:30 a.m. in the morning.
She's asking why is that such a good time for practice or recommended time of practice?
Uh, in the words of that was Swami Savananda, that is the time of meditation, especially for beginners. It's a
Hmm.
quiet time, no matter where you're at in the world. Everybody is deep into sleep or have stopped movement. Now we can go into all the mystic stuff behind that, but you know, you'll see that as you grow in your studies.
Yeah, plenty of time to do it is one of the best reasons to start at 3 a.m. You may actually find yourself waking up naturally at that time.
Yeah, you do. At least I did. So I don't know about other people. I found myself if I went to sleep 1 o'clock, I woke up still at 3. So
Or if something is happening or someone comes to visit me during the night, that's usually around that time period when that happens.
yeah, it's a reason why the Wicca people and they go to the graveyards at that time too, right?
Yeah, they call it the bewitching hour between 3
Yeah.
and 5. Yeah. Oh, I wanted to know how that he wanted to know how that time period correlates with the pranas or with the flowing of the pranas.
Like I
How that,
said, do the
yeah.
mathematics. Sometimes when you learn something on your own, you can come back and ask me questions, but do the mathematics. All of it, all of it lines. It lines up. Once your eyes are opened, it's not rocket science. You begin to understand things. And you'll be surprised how things lay in plain sight. I showed you that, the wind, right?
Yes,
How
with you.
things are, oh, it's right there in plain sight.
Mhm.
You just you just don't see it, you know. Even the letters of the alphabet, when you look at it in the English term, you know, transmit, transform, it
Hmm.
starts with what?
migrate, transmit,
It
transmute.
starts with the letter what?
T.
T. Then when you just put T by itself, what does that remind you of?
Across.
A telegram post.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
just like you say sin, it's a winding road, you know,
Mm-hmm.
S. So I mean you everything correlates to each other. It may sound stupid and crazy, but it all makes sense, you know. If you hand someone something, it's just it all makes sense when you start looking at shapes, movement, and it follows a pattern. So it's best for you. It's best for people to come to that realization when they start doing these things. They begin to see the correlation.
Justin, there is just a note reminder that there is a law governing the giving of mantras, and that we should not give out or share a mantra that does not first live within us, which you just did twice. So if you're going to write a mantra, you'll see that especially in English, um, the proper way is to do it with dashes or hyphens. So I'll give you an example in the chat, but we should not give out a mantra. Yeah, that's fine, Justin. Um, well, in every class Mr. Davis has given, he um recounts the law of mantra, and in his mantra book too, especially in his mantra book, he goes into the laws governing the use of mantra. So I'd highly recommend you to go back. I'm trying to think of which class he has a. Well, we have a playlist where I read through the mantra book, and then an addendum to that playlist. There's commentary by Mr. Davis he gives on the book as well. So I recommend you to to review that. And there's also lectures by Dr. George King on mantra, even specifically a mantra initiation album that he has that I would highly recommend, where Dr. George King himself and some of his students initiate you into several mantras that you can use for your daily practice. Both, I guess, regular mantras and a soul mantra. So I'd highly recommend getting the mantra initiation album from Dr. George King. If you want, I can send you the link for that in the Dear Society. Okay, James has a comment here. You would love the Proto-Sinaitic Alpha Beta by the sound of it. It is the great ancestor of Western alphabets and was all pictures. James, I have no idea what that is. But if it's what I think it is, or from what I think it is, oh, okay, it's a type of early script. If you're into that, studying script, and then I would highly recommend Sanskrit. Sanskrit is one of two uh, metaphysically derived languages that was given to humanity. Humanity did not invent Sanskrit. Um, Sanskrit is the one that's given publicly, and there's another one that's only given through initiation. But I would, if you do um, like the study of script, and I would highly recommend Sanskrit, a metaphysically derived language. That is, it's spoken, it's supposed to be spoken, not written, but if you study it, you'll. Mr. Davis has a class on that. He talks about Sanskrit, its origins, and um, its purpose and how it was given to humanity in its proper use. Sanskrit is much older than any language, though. Right, because it's not a human language, it's a human derived language, one of the two metaphysical languages that were given to humanity. Um,
Yeah, the in Hebrew is I don't know if you have a I don't know if there's a real authentic Hebrew language on earth today. It changed multiple times,
mhm.
mainly because of war. But Sanskrit was given to us, was offered to us. It was part of the original. Uh, it's language made up of holy of the holy word.
Hmm.
AUN. It's the original samskaras of the soul.
So I don't have. What was it? All right, Justin. If you go to cloud.ethereus.org, there's there's many, 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 many lectures given by Dr. George King that you can, if you subscribe, you can listen to as much as you want, or you can purchase individual lectures. This is the mantra initiation to dynamic and soul mantra. They used to have this on the theorist.org website on their store, where you can actually buy the physical CD that came with an insert that also had the mantras written. But I don't see that on the site anymore. But you can still pick up it electronically here. And this you're initiated into several mantras, both dynamic and soul mantra. And then he has another album on mantra, specifically talking about the AUM. And you see here, like I mentioned, this is how it should be written. You should never, ever give out a mantra. If you have to refer to it in writing, then it should be written as such or referred to as the word, as they say here. It's in the lecture. And then he has one also on soul mantra, which you can listen to as well. She has many lectures on mantra, but I think those are the three that they have under the mantra category on this page. And then Nehemiah also has, Mr. Davis has lectures on mantra, but again, there's also the book, um, his mantra book, The Ancient Language of the Soul. If you go to Amazon, let me just do it and show you. Amazon, Ancient Language of the Soul. Uh, okay, let me resume this so you can see it. Okay, so here is the mantra book, Ancient Language of the Soul, the Mystic Knowledge of Mantra. You can get it both in Kindle version or hardback or paperback version. And this goes very deep into mantra. Now, mantra, you're not actually, Mr. Davis doesn't actually give mantras in the text, but this text, along with the initiation into dynamic and soul mantra, is a complete study in the science of mantra, or at least a complete introduction into the science of mantra. And then accompanying that is Mr. Davis's second book, The Miracle Kit Behind the Power of Prayer, which goes also into the science of mantra. It isn't the science of prayer, but it's, I guess you can say, it's the follow-up to the ancient language of the soul and goes deeper into the science of mantra and prayer. So those three resources will be very beneficial for you and for everyone into the science of mantra and prayer. Let's see what else. What's next comment here? Okay, the proto-script I mentioned earlier is mysterious. Actually, all we know is it's Semitic. Okay, guys, are there any final questions or comments before we wrap up today's session? Let's see. We have 1, 2, 3 more Sundays in 2025. So I would like to have at least 2 classes, as neither Christmas or New Year's falls on a Sunday. Then maybe we could get 3 more Sundays, classes on those last Thanksgiving Sundays. But at the very least, I would like to have 2 more classes to wrap up this year. So do stay tuned to Meetup or to your email for those announcements. And again, if you guys any questions or comments, I think we'll just do open discussions for the remainder of this year and maybe come back in either January 4th or the 11th with an open discussion and as well as a tentative agenda for the rest of the year. Again, mentioned earlier, if you guys are interested in forming a group, happy birthday to your cousin James. If you guys are interested in forming a group, um, do let me know. Send me an email, and I will also send out an announcement once I formalize everything, get things together, and get permission from Mr. Davis. Then I'll send out a blast to everyone who's interested or who has expressed interest, and we'll um, work on setting that up. If you have any questions or comments that we're not able to address in one of the open discussion sessions, or you would like to pose privately, send us an email. Bipin, do send me a reminder email, and so that I can go back and look and make sure all of your outstanding emails are responded to. Uh, Anything else you'd like to add, Nehemiah, before I close out?
Well, there was one more book that you could have added to that. It was by Swami Shivananda. It's a heavy Sanskrit book, but it's really good on mantra.
Is that on
It's,
the?
it's I think it's called Java, a comprehensive study of Java, of uh, of Java Yoga, I think, which is mantra, the repetition of mantra. I shared that book with you, right?
Yeah, I think it's. Is it on the site?
I don't know if I put it on the site.
Swami Shivananda. Where is this book?
It should come right up if you did I put it on the site?
Yeah, Japa Yoga, a comprehensive treatise on Mantra Sastra. It's on the site.
Yeah, put it up. Can you pull it up? Let's see
Yeah,
how
let me pull it up really quick.
make sure that's it.
I think I started reading that book a while ago. Uh, this site is this is our website, mysticknowledge.org, all one word, mystic knowledge. And yeah, I think it's here, mysticknowledge.org. And if you scroll on ebook library, the first ebook library link, and scroll down, you'll see a section dedicated to Swami Shivananda. And these are all, the majority of them should be PDF books. I remember
Can
saying
you
that.
click on it to see if it's still there?
Yeah, it should still be here.
See if it come up.
Yeah, I have
Yeah,
this book. Yeah, I purchased this book. I have
yeah.
this one. Yeah, so this is a good one. I think this book has uh the prayer to Kundalini that I used to use. Or
Yeah,
is it this one or is it another one? It might
which
be another.
is not translated all the way. Yeah.
Oh, double O. Where's that? Yeah. So that's available for you guys too for free. You can go to our website, mysticknowledge.org, and there are dozens, maybe even hundreds of books here that you guys can download and read for free and study. And this was for those of you interested in the practice group, um, I think it was there's lessons in Raja Yoga. It's mostly Ramacharaka text we'll work through. We did a couple classes on the 14 lessons in the advanced course, and then each one of these texts, I think, gives a series of practices. I think the one we looked at before was the Raja Yoga book. All right. So if there's no further questions or comments, let's go ahead and close out with reciting the New Lord's Prayer. The New Lord's Prayer. Jump back. O divine and wondrous Spirit, O everlasting Lord of hosts, send forth now through me thy great and lasting power. Allow me, Almighty God, the lasting privilege of radiating to all the world thy great love, so that those who suffer may be given the power and energy to rise above their weaknesses. Almighty God, in great humility do I ask you to send forth your power, to give to me this great lasting privilege of being a channel, so that my suffering brothers may be helped and guided and healed and lifted into thy light, so that they who know not may look up, and in doing so receive to their higher selves your divine counsel. Almighty God, this day have you granted me a divine privilege. I ask you now to give to me the strength, so that never again will I turn from my inner vision of you. O great peace, great peace, great peace. In praise of your greatness, O God, doth my soul sing. Grant it energy to sing on forever and forever. All right. Thank you very much, everyone, for your kind attendance and participation. Do stay tuned to your email and to MeetUp for the announcement of our next course, our next class, sorry. Probably be the 14th or the 21st, but we'll at least have 2 more before this year is out. If you have any questions or comments, do feel free to send us an email, Mystic Knowledge Center, all one word, @gmail.com. And thanks again, and we'll see you next time. Take care.